Because I see Gen Zs, they're showing up as themselves, almost to the 180-degree difference than what we actually showed up.
Why do we second guess positives when they're told to us? Like, I do it all the time. When are you your most authentic self? At home.
I determine my own worth and value. So it can change all around me, but it's not until the thing changes within me, the belief system changes within me, then things actually change. Welcome to another episode of Keeping It Real, where we have real conversations with extraordinary people in multi-million-dollar homes. And I am your host, Erica Rawls. I had the pleasure of having another conversation with that dynamic duo that we had about a month ago. Yes, you got it right. Trina Cox and Renay Loper. They're here today. And our topic of discussion for today is going to be hiding in plain sight. Yes. Now, where did we get that from? Well, I just so happened to receive a recommendation for a book by Jamie Kern Lima called Worthy. And I could not put it down, so much so that I wanted to have a whole podcast segment about the book. And yet I learned that Jamie's actually having a podcast called Worthy. So we're going to give that to her. And maybe one day she will ask me to be a guest on her show or vice versa. Yes, Jamie, I'm reaching out to you. But we're going to get into it. It really resonated me about the topic we're going to talk about today. It's called Hiding in Plain Sight. So welcome, you two ladies.
Thank you, Erica. Happy to be back.
Yes.
Did you know the title?
What? Worthy?
Hiding in Plain Sight?
I think she might have mentioned it.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm hoping I did. Good Lord. Good Lord. Okay, so can each of you share a bit about your background and what led you to the point where you felt the need to hide aspects, if you have, of yourself in plain sight? Yes, I'm starting heavy. And we have the wine here if we need to. We also have the popcorn, so just relax.
I'm not going
Let's
first.
take a deep breath. She said, I'm not going first. Let's do it. Renay, what you got? The first thing I want to say is, Erica, you always do this to us.
Yes.
So, y'all, she does not give us a heads up of what the questions are going to be. I'm thinking, what do you think about the book?
Right.
She's like,
Yeah,
so tell me about
yeah.
time. Tell me about a time. Yes. When you had to hide yourself in plain sight. Ooh. There have been so many times. Yeah. I don't know which one to choose.
Oh,
I think for me, and it's so funny that we're having this conversation now because I feel like I'm on a journey. I'm on a spiritual journey, an intellectual journey, just a developmental journey, period. And I'm noticing where I have done this, meaning hide myself, aspects of myself, or downplay aspects of myself, or not be honest with myself about who I really am. I'm like, holy crap. So this is therapy.
I love it.
But I would say, generally speaking, I feel like I've hidden myself. My mind automatically goes to the professional context.
Okay.
So the workplace, where I feel like I have to show up as a certain role or character, if you will. Like, you got to show up as if. And it's only and it's not being fake, I don't believe. I think it's about, for me, just an aspect of me, not all dimensions of me.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Okay. Trina.
yeah. So I have to 100% agree. And I think we've had this conversation before. Yeah, because although you're told to come as your authentic self, I don't feel like we can be our authentic self. Okay. How so? Because there's a perception of us. So let's talk us and as Black women. I think that there's a perception of us that we try to break those barriers, yet we want to still be seen, heard, and it just is a fine line I think we have to walk. So in reading this, there were so many points that I was like, oh, this is me, but like I didn't want it to be me. So I was struggling with being honest with it being me. But yeah, so so just to take a step back, some background, I never thought I would be in a corporate world, in a corporate setting. I thought I would be, because I always saw myself either as, I started off working in detention. So then I thought I saw myself, which I kind of still do, but in a different aspect of being more on the legal side of it. So I had a perception of myself as being not in a corporate world, but in a legal setting, but not corporately. So I think when I went into the corporate world because of, stability, not wanting to work weekends, holidays, that was the driver for me, right? And so when I entered in, I saw myself not being myself. So I had to smile when I didn't want to smile because everybody says to me, smile. Who wants to smile when you're not, just for no reason, right? Like, I'm not in a bad mood. I might have that look, but I'm not in a bad mood. But then I think as I got older and, kind of like moving up and moving forward with your career and yourself and being honest about who you were, I realized through the pandemic that I was not myself at work. That when people would like walk past my office and I'm like engrossed in what I'm doing, they would stop and say, smile, you never smile. And I'm like, you missed me 5 minutes ago telling 10 jokes, smiling. So then I like put on this fake smile because that's how I'm perceived. So then I realized how quiet I am at work and how can you imagine?
Trina quiet.
How much of a different person I was because I was careful about when I said it, how I said it, and who was at the table while I was talking. So when I was reading this, I was like, wow, this is so true that you hide behind things and your exterior kind of tells a story that's not.
Yeah. So you're afraid to show up as your authentic self in the workplace.
Absolutely. Let me give you a great example. I've been relaxer-free for probably 10 years.
Okay, so for the audience that may not know what relaxer-free means, you have to share what that means.
Yeah, so I haven't had any chemicals in my hair to straighten my hair in over 10 years, right? Okay. So because there's a lot of background of that I know we're not getting into, but I realized when I had said that to a mutual friend of all of ours, she was like, why don't you wear your hair natural? And I was like, I ain't going to work with no braids in my hair or no natural hairstyle. Like, people are going to ask questions. They're going to look at you. They're going to want to, it's a lot that goes with it. And it takes a lot of confidence that goes with it that I realized I didn't have. And that's why I didn't do it. And then I was like, wow, like I never thought about that. So you're not your authentic self.
And I think that's a conditioning too. I feel like we've been conditioned just speaking about the workplace, like the structure, the corporate structure, you're professional if you show up this way and if you look this way and if your hair is that way. So I think there's a race thing, there's a racial element, and then a gender to do that though. Society, the patriarchy.
Yeah.
It's like as women, you have to behave a certain way. Mm-hmm. And then racially, you have to fit in a certain mold in order to be perceived a certain way or taken a certain way. And I see it changing because I see Gen Zs, they're showing up as themselves almost to the 180 degree difference than what we actually showed up to work. They're just like, I don't care right now.
Yeah.
Love me for who I am or else. That's beautiful. So, because there was never a time that I would think I would see in the workplace, like tattoos being shown just publicly. I never thought I would see it. And now people are just wearing it as, as a trophy. Like, yeah, look at my tattoo. And they're comparing tattoos and they just like, oh, I want to get my whole sleeve done. I'm like, I want to show it out. I'm like, gasp that. So there's so many things that are evolving as a result of that, which I'm happy for.
Yeah.
So, but if you were to define hiding in plain sight, like what would your definition of hiding in plain sight be? And you can base it on the book or you can base it on, your personal experiences or what have you.
Yeah, I think hiding in plain sight, when you had mentioned that to me, I was like, oh, I'm curious to see what your definition was about it. But when you said it automatically, I was thinking, we all hide in plain sight. Like we all second guess who we are depending on who our surroundings are. When are you your most authentic self? At home, then with friends, then with family, then, but when you talk professionally, you're hiding who you are because you want to fit what you think society says. People do it in marriages all the time. Like, I'm afraid to let people know in my relationship what's going on because of what's society going to think? I'm afraid to get divorced because what's society going to think? I'm afraid to have this child out of wedlock because what the society thinks. So some of the times when I'm like, I don't care what people think, is because it's outside of the professional world. Because truly, when you're in a professional world and you're trying to maintain and get to certain spaces, you definitely care.
There's something that you said. So when are you most authentic? Is when you're with your family or your friends. And that's not necessarily true. It depends on the individual person. Because I've had relationships where, you know, they said, you know, I've been hiding, not necessarily said the word hiding, but they weren't their true authentic selves to no one because they had a hard time dealing with who they truly were. Yeah.
Accepting themselves.
Accepting themselves of who they truly were. So that in itself, we make assumptions that that's the case. So that's why I love the book, because it just talks so much about, you know, how you can truly be your authentic self, and how hiding in plain sight is not doing anyone any good at all, and especially not yourself. And then when you learn to love yourself and show up as yourself, you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find your tribe. So the definition to me, hiding in plain sight, is truly being your authentic self and not being afraid to be truly who you are, and not being afraid of the possibility of being judged or being on your own because you can't find your tribe.
So what was that moment for you that you realized I'm not hiding in plain sight anymore?
What was the moment for me? Ooh, there was a couple, because I found myself being able to not hide in plain sight. So I think my first incident was in high school, going to a predominantly white school, right? And thinking, oh, well, are they going to judge me because of the way that I talk? And then the other side was when I go to church, are they going to judge me for the way that I talk? Because I talk proper. So child, it was a whole like craziness going on. Like, who am I to show up, right? Because my church was predominantly Black, and then my school predominantly white. I didn't know what or how. So it wasn't until I noticed that I found out who I truly was. It wasn't until probably like college. And then I had my college friends. So I also saw it as an asset. Like, okay, I found that my friends that were so-called my Black friends, right? Some of them, when they went to predominantly all Black schools, were having a hard time in the corporate world actually having conversations with our white counterparts. So I was like, okay, so finally I feel like I have like some, you know, and an advantage. So you're asking about when or how did I overcome it? I overcame it, just said, you know what, it is what it is. And the older I get, I also find myself going backwards too. Meaning, sometimes I'm like, okay, and I'm able to check myself now. Again, because of the book, I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Wait, that's me. That's me. That's me. So part of it talks about, the elephant. So I love that I was able to find a group of women that when I have those situations or when I'm down, it talks about the elephant, the group of elephants. So you may have a group of elephants and there's one in the middle that's not feeling so well. What do they do? Or someone that's pregnant or wounded, they protect them.
Around.
They're kicking the dirt up. They're protecting them while the other one's weak and down. That is the tribe right there. Isn't that beautiful? An elephant. Being an elephant, right. That's beautiful. So that's what I see. We went down a whole big rabbit hole. That was good. That was good. So then, okay, so when did you first realize you were hiding your true self, and what triggered this realization? So you touched on it a little bit, but I wanted to talk to, Renay, what were you thinking? Like,
I go back to, so I would take it to the word context, but then I would actually go back to childhood. Kind of growing up, only child, being raised by my mom, and my dad was close by, but I didn't live in the home with him, and not really having siblings, not having close cousins or anything like that. So I was always kind of alone. And so I think when you grow up with more family members around, and I could be completely wrong, but my perception is that you have the socialization, like you have, I won't say validation, but you have it supports your growth and your development in different ways. And so for me, I was just always in my head, and I think I'm still always in my head. And so without being able to express and get any feedback or anything back about it, I think as a means of protection, like I just always felt like I had to show up in a role, like as if something. So I feel like it's been an undercurrent throughout all of my interactions, right? Yeah. Evolving. Yeah. So that's what I would say. So I can't really point to a specific incident or a specific time, but I think, yes, thanks to the book and thanks to both of you in our conversations over the years, that it's a mirror, right? You all are kind of like mirrors of the tribe. You're the mirrors. And it's like, oh, yeah, no, actually, think about that. Yeah. And so getting it out, but then getting the feedback to just really check myself. Right. Think about what I'm thinking about. Right. Yeah. And that story that you're telling yourself. And that's what really stuck out for me is the story that we tell ourselves. The story that we tell ourselves. Yeah. The story that plays over and over in our heads versus what someone else tells you about yourself. Yeah. That blows my mind to this day. I'm like, really? Like I'll hear something that someone will say that they perceive of me. And I'm like, really? Wow, I didn't think that it's always a positive. Like, wow, really? I didn't know,
Why do we second guess positive when they're told to us? Like, I do it all the time.
I'm doing better because I noticed I would even have trouble saying thank you. So, and a lot of it has to do with not feeling worthy of that compliment. So I'll receive them all now. I'm like, oh, thank you. Oh, you're beautiful. Oh, you're so smart. Oh, I want to be like you. I'm like, real, like before I'm like, even when push the person away that said that, I would push the person away. If you gave me a compliment that was just too much, I noticed I was pushing them away. But it wasn't until I realized that, Erica, that's a gift. And seriously, part of your purpose is to help and empower other women. So me wearing that, I'm just like, okay, yes. When they say like, yes, girl, come on, let me see how I can help you out. Before that was a struggle. That was a challenge.
With you on that. Yeah. I would find different ways to not walk past that person that constantly gave that compliment.
Really?
Yeah. Like I literally, because I don't want everybody to stop and look at your attention.
So I'm like, no,
like, okay, so don't say, oh, those pants are nice, or like, you always come to work looking nice. And I was like,
that's the other thing.
And going away that I didn't get it. And it didn't hit me until I started realizing all the insecurity, because I think people think that you don't have insecurities. But I think everyone has insecurity.
That's hiding in plain sight. Yeah. Right there. Yeah. That is. Yes. Yep. Woo. Okay. Do we need a drink or something?
Because that just got warm.
I'm like, yes, because you were talking to me. That is so funny. So
this, by the way, is Pellegrino.
Yes, that is Pellegrino. We didn't get to the wine yet. We didn't get to the wine yet. We got some time. Yeah. So then how did hiding your authentic self affect your self-worth and confidence over time? Come on, y'all. Y'all weren't ready. Wasn't ready. No, we still got some time. Ready.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Okay. So here we go. So then how did hiding your authentic self affect your self-worth and confidence over time?
Okay. Go ahead, Renay.
No, I was going to say, I feel like it's reinforcing. Like, so when I'm talking about the story that I know, the story that I was telling myself, it's like a negative reinforcer. Because if I continue to hide, it's like I just reinforce that self-thought of that not being worthy. Or just that kind of the fear of judgment, rejection, whatever. So I think by continuing to hide, for me, it was kind of like a continual, a deepening of being hidden, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I kind of took it as an insecurity being a strength, like strengthening what that insecurity is. So I have a note that says strength can come from insecurities. When you recognize what your insecurities are, you build it into your strength. So when I'm starting to realize what I'm doing and hiding, I'm like, no, like I need to be more confident walking past this person. I need to, I feel like you just take what is that you're seeing from yourself that isn't good. And I don't want to say good because that's not the right word, but is that insecurity that like you flip it and say, how can I make this insecurity work for myself? One of my insecurities is speaking. Like I think I want to have a heavy, deep voice, and then I have a lisp.
And it's funny because I think you have the best radio
speaking voice, right?
Yeah, and you speak, people listen.
So I'm gonna take that.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's an insecurity of mine because I'm like always conscious about how I'm talking, so you don't hear the list. But now that I'm talking, I hear it more.
Right.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that is. See, y'all, she was being vulnerable.
Yeah.
And hiding my dimples when someone's like, "Oh, you have dimples," and I'll go like that.
I'm like, yes, that's like that's the best.
Yeah.
So hiding authentic self, how can it affect your self-worth? I think it just starts becoming like, it starts diminishing you.
Yeah.
Like you just become like someone that you just don't, you shrink. Yeah, you shrink. And you never, ever live to your fullest potential, right? So, and it's even shared in a book how when you have those thoughts, you should have other positive reinforcing thoughts. My best takeaway, yes, y'all, I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the book right here, but the best exercise for me, and one that I didn't even know I did, and it's recommended, is the mirror talk. You know,
talk to yourself in the mirror.
Yes, and we get that from the most prevalent person that we know that did that was a character on the show Insecure.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, she did do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
she did that whole conversation.
She would have a whole conversation.
Yeah.
It was funny because even before that show, I would do that. And I also have like self-affirmations that I start my day with, because one thing about the world, they're going to try to break you down. They're going to try to break you down no matter what you do. So living with that low self-esteem, or how it can actually affect your self-worth, it's actually detrimental. It can be detrimental if you don't take control of it and, you know, seek the help that you need, like the therapy that you need. So, yeah.
It's the affirmations that you said to start off with. I have in my, on my mirror in my bedroom, the bathroom is affirmations or goals. Like I stick it there, so I have no choice but to see it.
Yeah, starting with the "you are worthy."
Yeah.
I used to back when I recognized what was happening, like the self-talk and whatnot, what was happening. I changed my work passwords to be the affirmation, so it doesn't work now. So it's like every time you have to log in, you're also reinforcing, and then in the context of work. So I'm in my office, and I'm now saying I'm enough.
That's great. I'm still in that.
Yes. It's no longer a password, so don't try to hack me. But but yeah, I would do I am enough, and then it got to the point where I didn't need it. I feel like we always need it, but it was like became more routine. I was like, all right, now I have to change it, because in the beginning it was like I'm actually saying it as I was typing it. Yeah. So how do you think that is awesome? Like I really think that we do need to implement that. So how do you think that hiding in plain sight, how it affects relationships, not necessarily our own personal ones, or people that you may see that you know that they're not being their true selves? Like, how do you think it affects relationships?
It definitely isn't healthy, I don't think. Like I said, when I was like, even relationships with friends, like if I'm not my true self with you, then what worth am I to you? Like, how worthy am I to you? So if it's not in a true relationship where I can be myself, like y'all know me uncut, like past these cameras, y'all know me uncut. So if I can't be that with you, then it's not going to work. So I think that in relationships, period, if you find yourself losing yourself, and there are going to be times where you're going to lose yourself. So it's not a bad thing, but sometimes you are going to lose yourself. But so sometimes you get wrapped up into being a mom, being a wife, taking care of home, taking care of your family, taking care of your parents, and you get lost in all that, and you're not finding yourself. And sometimes you need to reset yourself and recognize, like, okay, I've done all these things. Like, what's next for me? What's for me? So I don't see it as a bad thing all the time. But if I see someone that it like, or find myself getting lost and not being myself, then kind of have that conversation and bring yourself up out of there, and so that you can be your true authentic self, or remove yourself from it.
So we're older, and I think that we have a responsibility, or what I should say, I want to pose it to a question, because I don't want it to be a statement, because I would love the dialogue between the two of you. What responsibility do you think we have for the younger generation coming up?
when it comes to finding their self-worth and making sure that they don't hide in plain sight. I think we have, I don't know if that's, when you say what is a responsibility, I think there is a responsibility. I don't know to what degree, but I think we rob ourselves and we would be robbing those who are watching us of the opportunity to be full and to live in an expansive life and have expansive relationships. So it's, a hindrance to the individual who's hiding, but then also, especially, parents who, when you have your children looking up to you, you're a role model, whether you want to be or not. People are always watching. And so I know I get inspired. Some of the people that I admire most, I've never met them, but when I see them, they seem to show up as their most authentic selves. And it gives me the encouragement to be a little more bold and kind of show up as me. So somebody's always watching. And I think it is you're giving permission, even without explicitly saying, it's okay to be yourself. Right. If you live in color, then people will also see that, right? And then know that they can do the same thing.
Yeah. I kind of would say, stop living up to societal norms and stop living based on social media, because that generation has a lot of a misperception of what authentic means and is, because they're so lost in trying to be what they're scrolling and seeing all day. Like, put the phone down, put you in the mirror, and
that is so
recognize who you are. And
that's like, what are you consuming? That's informing what you think is true.
Right. So now you're trying to change yourself to
be this thing.
Right. Yeah. Because us growing up, the whole narrative I felt was, get married, buy a house, white picket fence, 2 kids, a dog, a husband. And I'm like, that's not going to be what everyone is. Yeah. So how do you adjust? How do you move without thinking you let someone down? Yeah. Like, how do you move without doing that? And I think younger folks now, when they're scrolling, they're thinking, oh, if I'm not this at this age, then I'm letting the world down. But no, like, right, I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. Yep, because I'm not at this place that this person is probably not at, that you're looking at.
Second, they probably took 800 photos.
Right,
to the one. Right. But that's like a snippet.
Right.
That it actually makes me worried when I think about like the younger generation and what they have to combat when it comes to social media, being their authentic self. Because I see it's hard to show up when you're younger, when you're evolving into someone you're not quite sure who you're becoming, but unfolding in front of social media. And then what happens if they say one negative comment? Right. Then you're like, okay, well, that's not really who I am. So I agree with you. I think we have a responsibility to monitor our children. And it would be so great if they weren't even allowed on social media until they were 18 or whatever. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I hear in China, so they do. Their kids are not allowed, or they don't even have, the opportunity to be on social media. Now, that's all hearsay, and the social media feed may have even put that out there, and that may not be true.
Yeah.
However, but there's one gentleman who's high in the tech field that's not even, they don't have their kids on TikTok or IG.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw that.
Yeah. So that to me is like, okay, so they're not letting their kids.
Right.
Why are we?
Yeah.
Why are we? So what was something that you took away from the chapter that you read? Like, that was just so like, wow, this is great.
Well, Trina has 800 little stickies over here, so I'm going to go first because I want.
Yeah. The tabs are hilarious. The tabs are hilarious.
Yeah. So for me, the one thing that stuck out, it's on page 20. And it's actually bolded, and it says, nothing actually changes, even when things change all around you, unless things also change within you. And so for me, that was kind of like, it's all about the inner dialogue, the inner belief. And it's like, I think back to the point about society kind of determining our influencing our worth and, all of that. It's like, no, actually, that's backwards. It's like I determine my own worth and value. So it can change all around me, but it's not until the thing changes within me, the belief system changes within me, then things actually change. It also reminds me of a quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer, who I absolutely love. He has several books, but one of the books, The Power of Intention. And he would say, it's not until when you change the way that you look at things, then the things that you look at will change.
Yeah.
Like, that makes so much sense. Yeah. So it's like perspective, right? So when your perspective shifts and when your belief shifts, then things actually change.
Right.
So it's the internal drive.
I love that.
So my tabs are like, this is great shit.
Literally. That's literally what the tab is.
And so one of the things, the section achievement doesn't lead to love or fulfillment. Like, I think when people think that they achieve something, that it's fulfilling to you, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you make achievements that's not fulfilling. Yeah. And then I had success based on the world's definition, or success based on your personal definition. Like, what are you trying to be successful for? And I kind of had to ask myself that, like, who am I trying to be successful for? Who am I trying to achieve this for? And what is my definition of success? Because your definition of success may not fit with where I'm trying to go. So those are some of the things that I was like, questions I'm asking myself as I'm going through this.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. So
It is.
Yes, I'm promoting the book Worthy, because I think every woman, man, child, person should have a copy because of the way that she breaks things down. She even says she's not a therapist, but she breaks it down in such a way where you feel like you're going through therapy. Right. So that, in conjunction with maybe even some therapy with your favorite therapist or a group therapy session, I think will be really, really good, because we all have things to do when it comes to becoming our best version of ourselves. And we, not taking in the noise as much as we do, because we're all human. So just making sure that you surround yourself with great people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So important.
It is so important. Any final words? Like, I feel like we can just keep going on and on and on and on and on.
We're just getting started.
Any final thoughts?
I think for me, it just came into my mind when you said surround yourself with great people. It's also grace. Like, give yourself grace. I know for me, I'm really hard on myself. And it's like, I ought to, and why didn't you? And all the things. And it's like, there is no such thing as perfection. There really isn't. It could be perfect. My version of perfection for me, right? And so what's perfect for me might not be perfect for someone else. So giving yourself grace and kind of creating, to your point, Trina, the boundaries for yourself and the rules by which you live by. And that's great. That's enough.
Yep.
And that's fine. That works for you. So grace is what I'm leaving with.
Grace.
Yeah. I would say take yourself, who you are, with whatever you do. Like, if you're going to a new destination, if you're starting a new job, whatever you're doing in life, take you with you. Like, know who you are and make sure you're not changing the person you are in order to fit into what you're doing. Take yourself with you.
I like that. Take you with you.
Yeah. The moment that you stop hiding in plain sight, the moment you stop, I got to say it again because I'm getting all tongue tied. The moment you stop hiding in plain sight is the moment that you start believing and start living to your fullest potential. So let me say it again. The moment that you stop hiding, right, in plain sight, the moment you start living your authentic life is the moment that you're going to start living fully.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter what people say around you, right? As long as you know, like, you get goosebumps. I get goosebumps when I know I'm living the way I'm supposed to. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I also feel like, heavy when I'm not.
Yeah.
So that's what I took away from this book.
Don't you feel motivated?
You feel motivated.
Yeah.
Actually, you don't care anymore.
Yeah. It's liberating.
It's very liberating.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thank you. We got to talk about what we're going to talk about next time.
Oh, what are we going to talk about next time?
They're coming back. It's our homework assignment next time. Next quarter, they'll be coming back because, we always have great conversations. So I want to hear from our audience. Seriously, share with us a time where you felt yourself was hiding in plain sight. What was that experience? What is that trigger? And how did you overcome it? Have you overcome it? We would love to hear from you. Alrighty, until next time, keep keeping it real.